welcome back to the channel. My name is Sarah, and today we're going to do another Should You Read for 3 more books that are either out or coming out very recently. Coming out very soon. Oh my god. It's a lovely day. I'm still outside. I have filmed a couple things out here, so you'll see this background. This may be the last time you see this background, at least today. So enjoy it while it's here. But jumping right in, the first one, let's talk about Raven Song by TJ Klune, because 1, it's the second in a series, and 2, it is already out as of filming this. It came out August 1st. This is the second book in the Green Creek series, and this follows a werewolf pack that live in Green Creek, which is like, it's their home base, but there's also something more to that location. It almost feels like a ley line, but they don't call it that. We don't know yet. I don't know yet. I haven't finished the series. But back on topic. Raven Song follows Gordo and Mark, and Gordo is the grumpiest of grumpy kings. He is the mechanic that helped to raise Ox, who is the main character from Wolf Song when Ox's father left. Ox worked in Gordo's garage, and Gordo has ties to the Bennett pack. Ox was the witch for the Bennett pack before a lot of things happened, and he was effectively left in Green Creek when the pack moved away for a while. And when they come back, he ends up embroiled back in with them and their politics, and he's not happy about it. He is also sort of bound to Mark. Mark found him to be his mate. He picked Gordo, the fated mates thing that goes on with the werewolves. You know, Mark and Gordo, they're a pair. And unfortunately, there is a lot of like bad blood between the two, mostly on Gordo's end. Gordo felt betrayed and left behind by Mark and the pack. And this book is about how he comes to terms with that, and he re-accepts the Bennetts, finds a found family again, and actually learns to grapple with his father and his mother and their legacies, because both impacted him. Gordo's father was the witch for the Bennett pack before he was, and his father broke bad and murdered a bunch of people, and his mother was mentally ill and took that out on Gordo as a young man. So he had a lot of trauma, a lot of like intrusive thoughts from that, and it's just him going through the motions and dealing with the actual big plot of the series while coming back into terms with things. And it's so good. It's so good. So if you have read Wolf Song and you don't know if you want to read Raven Song, I say do it. Do it now. Yes, it's a should you read. In fact, if you haven't read Wolf Song, you should go read it. These are definitely romance. This one is lighter on the romance than Wolf Song, but even still, the plot in these is so thick and juicy and meaty that the romance is secondary. The plot is so good. I am genuinely terrified because people die. I am so worried about books 3 and 4. I think it's Heart Song and Brother Song, and they don't come out in hardback until next year, which means that's probably going to be when I read them. You'll know. And I just love these. So I cannot recommend these 2 books enough, especially Raven Song, since it just came out, and I love Gordo. He's the grumpiest man in the world, and I adore him. I love a grumpy hero. So yes, you should read Raven Song. The next one that I read, we'll do them in order of length, because Raven Song was also the longest book. The next one is Sir Hereward and Mr. Fitz by Garth Nix. Don't know if I said that name right. It's a very strange name. This is a collection of short stories. Sir Hereward is a knight, and Mr. Fitz is a magical puppet who has sorcerous abilities that deal with like needles and the eldritch magic. It's so good. So these two travel. These are all short stories following them as they travel to different locations, and they are hunting down a list of proscribed godlets. These are beings that have stepped into their plane of existence, into their world. They should not be there. They are either draining the people, they are draining the land, turning it into a desolate desert. They are evil and malignant in some way. And Sir Hereward and Fitz go out and they find these godlets and they send them back to their plane. Mr. Fitz uses this like eldritch needle. It's purple and you can't look directly at it, and he like sews them back. It's so cool. This is very classic fantasy and feel. These stories are written that way, but they're really good. If you like fantasy short stories with that almost classic feel, I highly recommend these. I really loved them. These range, I think he started writing these in the 70s or the 80s, I think, and up until recently. Totally worth the read. They're funny, they're fun. I will never unsee the giant carnivorous starfish in my life. I can't look at a starfish the same. Instead of suckers, it had like teeth and it just picked people up. Anyway, terrifying. So yes, you should definitely read Sir Hereward and Mr. Fitz if it fits into your genres and your wheelhouse. And the final book is actually another series book, and that is going to be Mammoths at the Gates by Nevo. And I have to say, sadly, this is probably my least favorite of the Singing Hills cycle books. This follows Cleric Chi when they return to the Singing Hills Monastery, and when they return, they find out that one of their former teachers has passed away. And there are mammoths at the gates of the monastery threatening to break it down because the two women who command the mammoths are the daughters of this teacher of Cleric Chi's. They knew of them in their past life only through stories that their grandmother would tell, and they believed that they need to take the cleric's body back and reinter it with their family, kind of ignoring all the work and the life that the cleric held while at the monastery. And the story is very much about grief, and it's a slow and darker version of a Singing Hills story, and it's about the Cleric Chi dealing with both the loss of someone they consider to be a family member almost, and the loss of a childhood friend, not because that friend dies, but because they take up leadership role in the monastery and their dynamic has to change. This also looks at the way stories and history change from person to person, and who knows what and how that changes someone's history. All of these are great themes, but for me, the fact that it was so short but trying to deal with such heavy topics didn't work well. Additionally, the ending on this felt, and I don't say this often, this felt like using the magic system as like a deus ex machina. Like, I wrote myself into a corner, let's just make something magic happen and solve the problem. And so it felt a little bit like we had reached a corner, there was no resolution, so something magic happened and it solved it. It didn't feel organic, right? So for me, this one ended up like being a 3.5. It's not my favorite in the cycle. I do think it's probably an important one to read in the Singing Hills cycle, but not my favorite. So if you are following the series, perhaps go into it knowing that it's a book about grief. It's a slower novella, even though it's only 130 pages. So not like the worst and not the best. So that's it for these 3 arcs. My air conditioner kicked on, which means it's time for me to end this. Let me know if you're going to pick any of these up, what you think, and I will talk to you guys again very soon. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye.